In Marvel Comics, a character always heavily underutilized is Taskmaster, and originally appearing in Avengers issue number 195 in May 1980, he only appeared in the final page of the issue where he was shown to have subdued Ant-Man Scott Lang and Yellow Jacket Hank Pym off panel. And from this point, his origins and the character himself were fully explored in the next issue of Avengers, with Avengers issue number 196, in a story called The Terrible Toll of the Taskmaster. However, since his introduction, he's become a fan favorite character. In canon, his origins are that he was born in the Bronx, New York as Tony Masters, and born with the unique ability to duplicate any movement he can observe. Now, this helped him out in many facets of life, such as athletics, because while doing athletics, he can observe a professional athlete do a certain move or technique, and then instantly he could just replicate it. And as an adult, he eventually joined S.H.I.E.L.D. as a special agent, where he also met his wife Mercedes. And during one of his missions, he found an experimental version of the super soldier serum created by a surviving Nazi scientist. And taking the serum as a way to boost his already somewhat extraordinary abilities, Tony unfortunately forgot most of his memories as a byproduct of his now enhanced abilities. And this included forgetting about his occupation with S.H.I.E.L.D., forgetting about his wife, and various aspects about himself. But luckily for him, his wife was watching out for him as his quote-unquote handler to help him remember forgotten memories, as well as relay information about missions to S.H.I.E.L.D., effectively making Taskmaster unknowingly a double agent of sorts. Now, with the new alias of Taskmaster, Tony became a superhero mercenary, taking on contracts for various activities all over the world. And his skull mask itself is actually a homage to Santa Muerte, which Taskmaster based his, appearance around out of his various years of training the Mexican Special Forces. And during his early years, he was actually hired to train John Walker to become the next Captain America before he eventually went insane and instead became known as kind of the anti-hero US agent. Now, Taskmaster was then contracted to either train individuals in hand-to-hand combat all over the world for all kinds of organizations, or he was hired for mercenary missions, usually against other superheroes. Now, since then, Taskmaster has operated in a lot of gray zones, sometimes helping heroes, sometimes helping villains, but usually just helping whatever side pays the most, as he also at the same time tries to remember who he is on a constant day-to-day basis. The main ability of Taskmaster, which makes him unique in the superhero community, is his photographic memory reflexes. Now, sometimes this is kind of called a photoreflexive memory, but this basically allows him to duplicate any movement, technique, or physical skill instantly after observation. And this doesn't have to be in person either. He can have a recording of someone doing something, and if the recording is clear enough, he can just duplicate it right there on the spot. And this allows him to become a master martial artist, a master swordsman, a master acrobat, even mimic vocal cords from a single individual with just one observation. And he can also predict any opponent's strike or movement based on observing all the movements he's previously memorized and mimicked in the past. So 9 times out of 10, if you're fighting him, just based on the amount of knowledge he knows about hand-to-hand combat at a master level, he can 9 times out of 10 predict what your next strike will be, what your next move will be as a whole, just because he's seen it all, done it all. Now, the serum also enhances physical abilities such as speed, strength, durability, reflexes, agility, and healing to low superhuman levels. Even though most comics don't like to explore that all that much, they really just focus on the photographic memory reflexes ability. Besides his physical abilities, Taskmaster is also a master tactician and strategist, which he's used over the years to his advantage as he was contracted against a lot of superhuman targets, sometimes even having to go against the Avengers, which means going against Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Ant-Man, and tons of other heroes at the same time. And he's also considered one of the greatest assassins in the world, partially due to his training experience, but also due to the fact that he can become a master of any weapon, of really anything at an instant. And a large weakness, unfortunately, of his abilities, we touched upon this earlier, is that he has to sacrifice some of his old memories to learn a new memory. So every time he learns a new movement, a new technique, he potentially could forget something that he did in the past, another movement in the past, or to a certain extent, he could forget his own identity. So to help fight this weakness, Taskmaster usually carries around recordings of individuals to help him remember certain things that he might want to mimic depending on his mission task, and at the same time, he'll take things with him to help him remember himself if for whatever reason he starts to forget things. Now, Taskmaster, like I said before, appeared in the 1980s and since then has become a fan favorite character, which means he's appeared in other media. And besides the upcoming appearance in the Black Widow movie, a really popular appearance I've seen of him is in the Ultimate Comics Earth 1610. Now, this version appeared during the Ultimate Spider-Man comics for Miles Morales, and going by the name of Anthony Masters, he was a mercenary hired by Roxxon to capture human test subjects that have escaped, such as Cloak and Dagger. And unlike his mainstream version, this version of Taskmaster can not only mimic physical movements, but can absorb and, temporarily mimic superhuman abilities if he makes physical contact with either the ability or user. So it's a pretty interesting change on Taskmaster. I actually thought it was pretty cool when I was reading it. But besides that, Taskmaster has appeared in various TV shows, not really any movies besides the upcoming Black Widow movie, and even that version of the character we don't know all that much about, even though it's expected for him to survive and potentially join the upcoming Thunderbolts film that Marvel has been knowingly setting up for some time, but for some reason just won't officially announce yet. But on the video game side of things, most recently Taskmaster has appeared in the PS4 Spider-Man game, and also he is set to appear in the Marvel's Avengers video game, which will be pretty cool. And like I said before, he'll be appearing in the Black Widow movie, but as a secondary antagonist, not the main antagonist, because I think Iron Maiden is the main antagonist. But leave your comments down below. What do you guys think about Taskmaster? Do you think he's a cool character? I think he has a lot of potential, obviously very reminiscent in some ways to Deathstroke. Let us know what you guys think down below. What character would you like to see us do next? Leave your thoughts down below, and we'll see you guys later.